The Emerald, look at all that fancy creamer. The Emerald one is awesome. Just try yeah, I think shot or two every day.
All right, well, I better make sure my phone is on silent.
I just learned how to drink it black, mainly just because of calories, because I started counting calories, and cream is...
It's super,
Yeah, especially if you have more than one cup.
So you ready, Vic? Oh, there they are. Excuse me. All right, I'd like to call to order the Monday, April 1st meeting of the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kitzlar.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Alder Wood is absent.
And excused. Let's see, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 18th meeting?
Move to approve.
And I will second. Did you have any
Nope.
corrections or additions? I think I had, hang on just a minute. Let me just open this up. I think I had one thing I wondered about. On page 3. And Mark, maybe you can answer this. Yeah, it says, the city's credit rating is hurt if the fund balance is used for one-time costs.
That's
Now,
not
that
true.
isn't really the case, is that its credit record is hurt if we go below the required percentage. Is that, it's under,
I thought, yeah, I don't know. I would, yeah, we can use it for one-time cost. They prefer that. They
that's
don't
what
like
we
for.
usually do, yeah, so we probably want to
Hurts
change.
us if they use it for ongoing cost. I think
Yeah,
that's
I think
probably what
that's
it's supposed to be.
So do we want to change that? It should say if it's used for ongoing
Yeah.
costs,
So yeah, if you keep on using it every year for an operating item, it just
Okay.
depletes your fund balance.
which is why we don't do that.
That's why we don't do that.
So I guess that's the only correction I had. So Andrew, you didn't have anything? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. There are no appearances. There is no unfinished business. Under new business, we have one item, 6A, discussion and consideration of paid family leave policy. And Leah was going to fill us in on that.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. So this is the sort of vetted draft that has gone through City Administrator Gatto and myself and Alder Kitzlar, and has also been reviewed by City Attorney Cole. So I'll just sort of hit the highlights, and then you can ask questions or discuss as you wish. So the whole purpose of this policy is for employees to care for and bond with a new child. And so it does not include people who are acting as surrogates or sperm donors or any sort of temporary welfare placements like foster kids or guardianships. It's just for a newly born child or a newly adopted child. And it would offer 2 weeks of paid leave for all permanent employees. So that's permanent full-time and permanent part-time employees, which are generally employees who earn paid leave time. Hourly employees not included, paid on-call employees not included, so just permanent employees. For union employees, the intent of the council, I believe, was to offer this policy for all non-represented and represented employees. We do need to be aware, though, that this policy, in regards to union contracts, is going to be subject to mandatory bargaining because it involves wages, hours of work, and working conditions. So we can certainly go to the unions and say, this is our intent with this policy. We would like to offer you this policy. They can say, great, we'd like the policy. But if they want to bargain over this policy in the future, they will be able to do so.
So if the council approves this, is it automatically then applied to the union members, or does it wait until they bargain?
No, they would
Or
vote
could we-
on whether they want to accept the policy.
And they can do that now, even though we just approved
Yes.
an agreement with them.
What, a memorandum of understanding is what it would be?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
it would
okay.
become, an MOU in their contract somehow.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Makes sense, though.
Okay. As with the FMLA, employees will need to be employed for 1 year to be eligible for this policy. And any leave that they take will run concurrently with FMLA, so this leave is not in addition to the 12 weeks of federal FMLA that they get. It would run.
It's just that 2 additional weeks would be paid.
Correct.
Okay.
The policy allows that the leave must be taken all at once, so 2 weeks all at once, or it could be taken in 2 blocks of 1 week each, but no sort of intermittent 1 day here, 1 day here, or using it to sort of work part-time for several weeks. It'll need to be taken in blocks. It also, it can't be taken until after the birth or adoption occurs.
Okay.
And then it must be used within 6 months of the birth or adoption. So any leave not used within that 6 months will be forfeited. And then the leave can only, this paid parental leave can only be used once in a 12-month period.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Andrew?
One of the questions I had actually was that with that last point, when do we, and we probably talked about this, when do we start that timer again for the 12-month period, or when do we, you know, is it when they come back from that 2 weeks and then that 12 months starts, or do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do get what you're saying. I guess that's a good question. I guess we need to think about
I mean,
that.
We should probably make that clear.
in my mind, it would be at the end of their, whatever the end of the 2 week period is. Like when
Okay.
they've extinguished,
At the end of their 2 week leave.
whenever they've extinguished the 2 weeks in whatever format they take it, we'd start the clock over again.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Anything else, Andrew?
No, I think one of the things I had underlined just for clarification, and again, maybe we already illustrated this, but the reason we had a lot of discussion around whether they're required to be here for 12 months or not, and one of the reasoning that we kept that in there was we want this for retention and recruitment purposes. We don't want somebody, necessarily to take it and leave and be still within a year. So we had a lot of discussion around that specific piece of it. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Is that also in line with the FMLA rules, or can that be any time?
No, FMLA requires that you've worked 1 consecutive year.
I guess we're trying to adhere to that as well.
So,
Okay.
and we also had, she didn't touch on this, and maybe you will, the procedure of going into it. But we talked about who should sign off, how that goes, and I think we landed in a good spot where everybody who needs to know, but also respecting people's privacy if they want to hold it private, that situation. And hopefully, it doesn't create too much paperwork. I think it'll be a relatively simple form that they sign and can pass around type of thing. And then I guess the other thing, kind of just to back up, that I wanted to talk about was we had conversation of, do we allow people to take part-time, or do we want them to do it in chunks? And we figured to do it in chunks so that it wouldn't be too troubling to the department that they're in to figure out who might need to replace a certain thing. So you're looking at just a block instead of, well, we have to replace somebody for the afternoons of a 2 week period or something of that
I think
sort.
there's some departments that it
it's
could be
good.
pretty problematic.
Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to clarify those 2 points,
Okay.
or 3.
Okay.
So in terms of next steps, the intent would be we would bring this back to the Personnel and Finance Committee for a brief overview again when we have a full committee, hopefully at the next meeting. Then it would be on for first reading on April 15th, and then tentatively on first reading on the first meeting of May.
Okay. And you will include those some when they can take effect on the change. Okay. And that's something we really had, right?
Right.
Today. Okay. Okay. So anything else? All right. Well, thank you all
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, thanks,
Good work on
Leah,
this.
for all your work
Yep.
and everything. And Brian.
This was the easy one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, acceptance of the general fund Accounts payable checks dated March 14th to the 28th, 2019.
Yeah. So there's not a lot. There's a lot of checks, but nothing really out of the ordinary. But if you kind of go on, based on the top page numbers, page 3, Embury LTD, workroom cabinets. This was part of the libraries, part of their approved 2019 capital. Page 4, Gilgust, over at the City Hall. There's some heat repair. We had the heating repair that had to be done. So it's equivalent to about $2,200, $2,100 after everything was said and done for that. Page 5, Quick Trip is just our fuel cost. We use 2 fuel Quick Trip, and then down further is Landmark Services. So we use 2 of different vendors for that, both local vendors. Page 6 and page 7 is all our credit card payments for the month.
Quickly, Mark, on page 6, there's the Maggie B. Are we concluded with the communication study, or is she still doing a few things? Or
Yeah, so we are just about concluded with the original contract piece, all those items. Actually, for the next council meeting, April 15th, we will have an agenda item for her to give a presentation on the communication study to the full council. And then separate from that, as staff works with Civic Plus on the website redesign, we will likely come back to the council for a small budget amendment to basically buy a little bit of her time to review the website when it's in draft format later this fall.
Okay.
So, but once she concludes her presentation on the 15th, the majority of her contracted work from the 2018 contract will have been completed.
Okay, thanks. And then, sorry, page 7, maybe you haven't gotten there yet. So the MESBA Monona Area Guide, is that part of the tourism money, or, because I know we gave it to
This
not
is
the
not part
guide,
of
I
the
think.
tourism money. We
What?
did give them extra. This won't be part of the tourism.
Oh, so this is above and beyond.
We
This was-
decided to-
This was to buy, so in the new guide, we bought I think it was a third or maybe quarter page ad, just to have, I know we have all of the kind of general city data and information that's in there, but to also just buy an ad, just to kind of highlight a couple of key messages about the city.
Because typically, when we've given them the 10,000 for the ad before, we got a
did
full
that.
page ad.
Gotcha,
But so we
gotcha.
weren't going to have one. So we decided to, and they had a few slides. So.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Page 12.
Actually, Mark, I've got something on page 10. The Walmart Ellen Johnston restitution, I'm just curious what that,
It's a basically we collect money for restitution, and we have to pay it to Walmart.
oh,
This is
so
a court-
they
it's
pay it
court-
to us and then we.
Yeah, it's part of their court
Okay, just curious.
commitment. Page 12, Four Lakes Yacht Club. I just want to know, these are both actually void now. The first one and the second one was written wrong. They had to revoid it. And then, the other one is void too.
Is that why there's a third one later on?
There's a third one later on.
I didn't realize there were 2 initial ones that were.
Well, one was, that was a mistake on our end. We had to put it, they had something was wrong on the actual check. I think we put LLC in that
Oh,
ink. I don't know exactly what it was, but we had to
then
void
the
it.
other one's the one the attorney returned, right?
Right, the other one's attorney returned, and we issued that one later on.
Okay.
Page 13, advanced disposal. Bringing this up, this is our monthly service for garbage and recycling. We are starting to have an issue right now with our rebate. As you can see, if you look in there, number 5 down, if you go to the numbers, number 5 down on both of them. Our rebate number is coming under budget. Just looking at that, and we're probably going to be a good $20,000 short at the end of the year with that.
Is that due to this issue internationally of the Chinese not taking that?
It has to do with a lot of that has to
recycling
do with the papers not being taken right now, so we're getting 0 reimbursement for it.
What are they doing with it? Do we know?
I'm talking to Dan. There's,
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
so that'll be something we'll have to look at there in the 2020 budget, adjusting that number. Page 13, kind of down, as you can see, this is some invoices for Bill Cole, Alex Burleson. Actually, this is an invoice. It looks like it was a late invoice from August for some reason. So that's what that actually relates to. So if you knows what they were working on at that time. Page 16, LW.
I had a question about 14.
Sure.
The Clean Lakes Alliance, I thought that membership breakfast fee was $1,000. This said 900.
Which paper we got from the mailed invoice.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Maybe they just changed it, I don't
yeah.
know. Okay.
Page 16, LW. Allen. Just in general, when we got repairs, stuff that adds up, this is a pump repair for the sewer department. And next, I believe, page 22. So you do see the eminent domain. That's their lawyer for the yacht club. Page 23, accurate appraisal. I just want to mention this. 25,000. This is 25,000 of the $42,000 contract. This is the last year of the contract, so we'll have to look into going off for bids for this and see what we're going to do for the next cycle.
Okay.
Do we know if this year they're actually reassessing businesses?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly sure what location. I know Joan has those. I didn't
Okay.
talk to her, but I don't know.
Okay.
We can talk to Joan and see.
After our experience with Walmart, I'd like to know.
Yeah. So where they're at.
Mark, if it just kind of on that item, so I'm working on a draft of the RFP for the appraisal services. I guess the question for the committee is when, timing-wise, when would you want that to come before the committee and get that out in the marketplace?
Well, I suppose we want to know by budget time what kind of money we're talking about. So when have we done it in the past, remember?
Probably June, July, probably, because they with their timings and stuff like that. I think that,
It'll be ready well before then.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I had a question on 24.
Go ahead.
Or are you past?
no, go ahead.
And I'm sure this is every month. Dane County Highway Department. What do we pay for? It says February. Do we pay for them plowing, no driver? What?
Issues with the state contract, so we had to buy additional salt, we went to the county on that.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks.
So page 26, just kind of hitting on GEC Engineering Company. As these costs are winding down, as you can see, when they first started the plane services, were around $7,000, $8,000 per month, and now they're $812. It's been a slower time the last couple of months there, so they actually had to do as many office hours, so that's really cut down on the expenses there.
So that's added to the fund balance then.
Yes, this will come an issue here in the next couple of meetings when we talk about some other areas that we're looking at, because there will be some savings from this. So again, some underneath that, again, Kilgust. These repairs to these buildings, they are small, but they do add up. $1,300 for boiler repair at City Hall. And on page 29, North Central ambulance. This was actually approved in the 2018 budget. I think it took like a year to build. There was some hiccups along the way. It took a little bit longer than they thought. It's finally in, and I believe it's in service now. We did sell, as you know, there was a backup ambulance prior to getting this one. We just recently sold that to the town of Madison for $10,000.
Okay.
So no longer have that one. Page 30, just kind of hitting on where we're at with the Strand. As you can see, they're finishing up a lot of work. Inland boats, that's part of the riverfront. Atwood, Route 64, Bike Ped, riverfront.
So is the inland boat piece separate from where the park is, or?
Yes, it is. Dan, if you want to explain exactly what that inland boat. Inland boat, the Strand's been working on for us.
I was just asking, so that we have 2 line items for inland boat works site, and he was saying it's riverfront, and then we have another riverfront, excuse me, piece in there as well.
Well, are you talking as far as site investigation?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's, as part of that whole project, there's some groundwater wells that had to be put in for DNR requirements. There was some contamination from the works for years ago. We were expecting to close it out, send them a report. DNR notified us that we had to continue with one of the wells. So recent paperwork, we've had to install another well, re-sign Strand for some mineral administration. So that's as far as what we have going on right now with
Gotcha.
site investigation.
Cool. Thanks.
And then page 32, just kind of hitting on the couple things. The Beerbacker Associates site plan reviews. This is more they do reviews as far as they bill us and we bill whoever the applicant is. That relates to planning commission work, planning work, and then we just bill the applicant. So it's kind of things they're working on, and then just kind of hit the village of Cottage Grove, McFarland's. We work with them for traffic grants. We get the grant money, then we pay their share over to each different municipality. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any further questions? Is there a motion to accept the bills?
Move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned. All right. Have a brownie. Kathy brought some for Brian's meet and greet.
I think we just doubled the.
That's right. Yeah.
I think this is the most questions we've had about
I talked
bills.
to
Guys, do you want to turn off? I would like to call to order the Monday, April 1st meeting of the Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Court. Here. Alder Groupie. Here. Alder Moore. Here. Alder Spate is excused. Alder Wood, excused. Alder Kitzlar.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 18th meeting?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. There is no public hearing tonight, or there are no appearances tonight or public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
There are no changes to this. Again, it's basically to add crosswalk openings and ramps at the intersections. Our main problem that we've seen is typically on Monona Drive.
Does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Dan, I think you're going to be up here for a long time
I'll be
tonight.
here all night.
Item 2A, under new business, consideration of resolution 19-4-2346, award of bid for City Hall and Library HVAC upgrades, put forth by the Public Works Director.
Thank you. I'm presenting this for Brad. He's on vacation. This is the first read. All of the topics hereafter are first read tonight. We received 2 bids for the HVAC upgrades for the City Hall and Library. General heating and air conditioning provided a low bid in the amount of $77,200. The work being done this year includes an AC condensing unit and associated ductwork at City Hall, cooling coils at City Hall, and at City Hall and Library there's going to be rebalancing and then ductwork modifications. So the price tag of $77,200 will cover that. We had budgeted quite a bit, and the bids came in significantly under. So I'm not sure what to go with the remaining funds. If Brad's going to keep board and request to do the rest of the projects this year, or just wait until next year and save that money. So that would be it as far as that bid goes.
Do you have any idea when this will be starting?
I believe it would be starting as soon as City Council approves the contract and all the contract documents are signed.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Given the large discrepancy,
the reason why we brought Strand on board is because they've got the background and the expertise with this sort of thing.
okay.
There's a lot of work overall that needs to be done to both systems. I'm not sure where the estimate came in, why it came in so high. In any case, it's a good thing for us that it's more than half less than what we had budgeted. But there's still there's as part of this that needs to be done yet. I'm not really quite sure what the second half of this is. I think we have a good bid.
Okay.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Strand does tend to budget a little conservatively, don't they, on their estimates?
Well, keep in mind that when we do capital budgeting, we're putting these numbers together already in June.
Yeah.
Finalize it until October, and typically the plan says not finalized until.
I'm sorry, Andrew?
Oh, that's fine. I think mine's not necessarily a question, but building off of Alder Moore's. As I understood it, we were having a lot of problems at the library, and it sounds like with this proposal, they're just rebalancing and then doing some ductwork fixes first. Okay. And then the second would be they would figure out larger problems and then come back to us.
I think we want to see how that works.
Yeah, so that dollar amount, we might hit that
Right.
yet this year
Right.
if they come back to it. Okay, yeah. All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Yeah, this library thing is a couple-year project. Hopefully it'll be warm next winter.
Stark and Irwin provided the low bid for this work. We typically get two bidders. Farner is usually the second bidder. This year, Stark and Irwin had the low bid, $144,524.68. I've included a map in the handout so you can see the streets that we are planning to do. Again, that's microsurfacing, and letters will go out to all the residents once City Council and the Public Works Committee approves this project. And they basically have from June through August to complete the work. It's gone pretty well in the past. We've done 3 microsurfacing projects now. This will be our 4th. I think we've got all the bugs worked out. Seems to go pretty well. So we are within our budget. We are leaving about $55,000 left to do some street patching, and then our typical $8,000 for curb and sidewalk repair. So.
Questions? No? Next item 2C, consideration of resolution 19-4-2342, award of bid for Winnequa Park Lagoon improvements, also put forth by Public Works.
Okay. Prior to the meeting, I did hand out some information for you. That's a couple paragraphs. It's additional information, and I'll cover that once I explain the bid. This is for the PCB dredging and the additional sediment in the North Winnequa Lagoon Channel. We have a capital budget of $846,600, and the main portion of the project is to remove the PCB contaminated sediment. Hamburg provided the low bid, the amount of $726,915. There was a second contractor that provided a bid. Houston provided a number of 1.175. Reason being is there's some question, I guess, on the pre-approval of the sediment that we're taking to the landfill. If you look at the handout, we did receive pre-approval for the sediment to go to the Madison Prairie landfill. We've done our sampling back in 2015, and prior to this project going out to bid, we checked back in with Madison Prairie landfill, and they're requiring the contractor to do additional sampling. So we wrote that in the project manual. There's a few other characteristics that they have to do additional sampling for, and I guess the concern is if we exceed what they can take in for what they're authorized for, the sediment would have to be trucked out of state. So if that happens, basically we would have to halt the project. Or we would just dedicate all the money to the PCB dredging portion of the project. Hamburg will not proceed with any of that sampling until the project is approved here at City Council. And the nice thing is the project is not slated to start until after July, the July 4th holiday. Like I said, we already received pre-approval. Strand feels pretty confident that our sediment will meet the requirements of the landfill. I just wanted to let you know before we approve the project and dive in that there could be a hiccup down the road. But my best advice is we should deal with that once we know what the sample results are. So we are not, I guess, in any danger of any type of lawsuit or anything like that with the contractor if we have to halt the project because of the changing conditions that we weren't looking or wasn't expected. So, that said, there's a base bid and then there's two alternates as part of this project. There's a map that I provided in the handout as well. The base bid is basically from Nichols Road going north to the first line. That's our PCB contaminated area. And then there's a bid alternate 1 and a bid alternate 2. Basically, we set it up that way to meet our budget dollars. And we are able to accommodate all three sections for our budget funds. Like I said, we have $846,600. The base bid plus alternates 1 and 2 came in at $726,915. Another item down the road here on this agenda is engineering, conservation, and administration. That price is $65,000, and that leaves just under $55,000 for contingency, 6.5%, which is a typical percent. We usually like to have around 7.5%. Again, if we have to take our sediment out of state, I'm coming back here to council to seek, I guess, further approval on how to proceed.
The part we have to do is the number 1.
PCBs.
Right, that's the
Yeah.
PCB. The rest of it is, since they're
Right.
already staged there,
Right.
we need to get that cleaned up anyway. At some
Yeah.
point, we might as well do it.
Right. Yep. But if City Council approves this in mid-April, they'll give the green light to Hamburg to get the sampling done. We have enough time to get the sampling done, get the results back, in order for us to make a decision before the project would proceed.
Questions, anyone? Andrew?
Especially with the third piece of the project, that little canal or channel, do we notify the property owners around that? How does that
They
work?
did receive some initial communication with the engineer
Okay.
Back in 2018 already.
Okay.
This project, the research for this has been going on for over 3 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we've been in communication with the property owners back there,
Okay.
especially with the extra sediment.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, especially with if machinery or whatever
Right.
starts.
And we will touch base again with them once the project's approved.
Anyone else? Item 2D, consideration of Resolution 19-4-2343, approval of observation and administration services proposal from Strand Associates for the North Winnequa Park Lagoon improvements.
Okay, thank you. I had just mentioned this as part of the last topic. For the dredging project, we have a proposal here from Strand for the amount of $65,000 to do the construction administration services, which is observation and administration. It does meet our budget requirements. $25,000 of their work will be dedicated to the PCB removal, and $40,000 for the alternate 1 and 2, totaling $65,000.
Questions, Andrew?
So by all standards, it seems like Strand is up and does things really well. Do we ever price out, compare? Are there other companies that do similar things?
Well, we do have 3 engineers, MSA, Becker, and Strand. We received the proposal from Strand because they've been the engineer on this since 2015. It just makes sense to stick with them because they were given background knowledge.
Gotcha.
Anyone else? I have a question about the fiscal note. Why does it say at the bottom that in terms of the amount, $846,600, doesn't that apply to the previous item? Shouldn't this one just be the cost of the observation, or no?
Well, the cost for observation and administration is in with the $846,600 budget item.
So that number just appears at this, because it was in the previous
Yeah,
one at all.
because
as
it's under the
well.
same project.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
In
I
my
didn't know if
capital
you-
budget request sheet back in July, I have the construction amount, the observation amount, and then the contingency.
Okay,
So this is just one component of that
okay.
price.
I just wondered, since this was just the observation, if we would have just that price
Mhm.
in the fiscal note. Anyone else? Item 2E, consideration of resolution 19-4-2344, award of bid for 2019 Bridge Road Improvements Project, also Public Works.
Okay, thank you. We had a bid opening on February 28th. We received 3 bids. Hamburg once again provided the low bid, $2,339,750.30. This is for the Bridge Road reconstruction from Winnequa Road to Broadway. And if you look at the fiscal note, I tried to break down all the items that are covered as part of this project and outline some of the financial obligations, especially with the City of Madison. So part of this project, $842,714 is their cost. We will be billing them for design and construction administration services, $78,957. And I also have the estimated price for the undergrounding of the private utilities that are part of this project. We identified that back in July as $410,000. Those prices are still coming in. So more information will be coming on that. As far as the Hamburg bid, you'll see some differences from what we budgeted compared to what the bids are, mainly storm sewer. From our capital budget request, we had $20,000 in there, and we had the flooding in late August into September. That caused us to go back to the drawing board. You typically design for a 10 to 15-year flood event, and we had a 100-year flood event, and the overland flow route for the 100-year flood event is down Bridge Road, basically taking a right on Metropolitan and going into the riverfront, the area that we're reconstructing right now. So we're at the right stage of design, and it made sense to go back and account for the 100-year flood event. 60% of the cost is City of Madison, 40% is ours, because the majority of the overland flow is coming from the City of Madison. We designed to put the 100-year flood event underground in a pipe rather than have it go overland and flood on the properties. So that's why you see the significant increase there from what we had budgeted to compared to what we had in bid. The other big item is the bridge. We had $350,000 budgeted for the bridge enhancements, and that portion of the bid came back at $551,831. We did hear back from the contractor today that they feel they would have had that cost either way if we didn't allow one lane on the bridge versus allowing one lane, because they had to have kept it open for pedestrians and bikes out. So they still wouldn't have been able to use the full width of the bridge. There was not a lot of interest for bridge contractors in this work because they're already on big projects out there. Hamburg received one proposal for this work, and that was the one that they took because it was the only one, and that's the price they gave. So, that said, we are in line to get bridge aid for this project through the county program. So with our contingency and the bridge aid, we have I believe it's around $162,939 to help if there's project overruns as far as the overall cost goes. So I believe that is it.
Andy?
So I apologize, you just in detail went through all the dollars and cents, but I want to make sure. So just looking at the resolution, it says Hamburg contractors came for $2.3 million. Above that, it says that we budgeted for 2.075.
Right.
But of that 2.3, Madison is paying for some, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering if in this resolution we include some language to say that, because if, as I read this, we've under budgeted. As I read just the text, it seems like we've under budgeted because it came in at 2.3.
Okay, so even though at the last meeting we approved the agreement where we had the prices identified, you would like to see another whereas here, just indicating that Madison will be built?
I mean, I don't know what other alders feel, but
Okay.
I think it would be clear, maybe just to the general public, if they were reading it, that they look at the 2.3, because they might not look at the fiscal note.
We could easily add another
Yeah.
whereas for the next meeting.
Makes sense. Anyone else?
I would just agree with all.
Jen?
I would just agree with all their.
Andy.
Sorry, it's been a very long week, and it's Monday. To add the whereas for Madison,
Yep.
I think that would be helpful for the public.
I would like to add, if I could, Hamburg does recycle all the materials. So all the old road bed coming out, all the asphalt, the bridge railing, which we're not going to keep, will be recycled. All of that's going to be recycled.
That's great. That's great. Jen?
Sorry, one more thing. Has Madison approved the
Yes.
through their council?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we already have their signature.
I just want to ask a point of clarification to something Dan said about the cost that came back on the closure or keeping open one single lane. You said that that's included now in the fiscal note because the price came back irrespective of whether or not we closed it or kept one lane open?
Yeah, that was that's reflected in the bid, $551,000.
Anyone else? Alder Moore?
I just wanted to say, as I did when this was discussed previously, that once again I support the 100-year storm effort, and in fact, it's a strategy that increasingly communities are using for their for resiliency, even though it seems like a leap to go from 20 years to 100 years. The reality, unfortunately, is that we'll be there again sooner rather than later.
And we just thought it made sense to do it because these rain events, the 100-year, the 50-year, they're more frequent.
Yeah.
And if we're 3-4 years down the road and we get another 100-year rain event and we flood out down there, there's going to be questions. Why didn't we account for this?
Mm-hmm.
We've accounted for it.
Anyone else? Okay. Next item F, consideration of resolution 19-4-2345, approval of proposal from Strand Associates for engineering and construction services for South Winnebago Road improvements. Also Public Works.
Okay. Thank you. We have $80,000 set aside in the 2019 capital budget for this design review. Strand Associates, who has worked with us on the Bike Ped Committee, they provided the engineer's report as part of that committee's final report. They presented at council here, I believe, about 2 months ago. So this moves forward with what they've outlined in the engineer's report. They're going to look at removing the bump outs. They're going to look at installing bump ins for parking. Look at design for sidewalks, installation of intersection speed tables, milling the old asphalt, completing a resurfacing, adding bike lanes, and new pavement markings. None of this is set. These are just the topics that they're going to be looking at in their design. This will be coming back through committee and council before a decision is made on how to proceed with that. But this is something that we targeted back in July already, and back then we had dollars for design and construction. That was trimmed down a bit to just complete design in 2019. And please know that part of this proposal, there's $78,900 from Strand for 2019 design. If the City Council approves this as a project in 2020, the other half of the proposal is $93,600 to observe and do construction services for the project. So all your looking at for this year is the $78,900, which does fall under our $80,000 capital allocation.
Andrew?
Hopefully this question is more for the public's point of information, but the design process, whether we add sidewalks or not, whether we have them on both sides or not, that goes through Public Works Committee, correct? Or what's the process for if somebody wanted to voice their opinion one way or another before it comes to council and is more solidified?
Well, City Council has final say, but right, the process starts at the Public Works Committee. Even if the committee votes to not install sidewalks, final decision still rests with City Council. There will be meetings once they complete probably 60% this year. There will be information coming out, present that plan, and get feedback on it.
Anyone else? Alderman?
Well, you said that I discussed a little bit what Stan will be looking at. Will they be providing more than one alternative, or is it just about the bump ins, taking the bump outs out and putting the bump ins in? Are they going to be presenting us with several different options to look at?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I do know the main focus will be to remove the bump outs for sure. If they can accommodate some on-street parking, that's where the bump ins come in.
Right.
We have adequate right-of-way to accommodate bump ins as well as sidewalks. And the goal is to get the people off the streets as far as the pedestrians. So that's why they're looking at sidewalks versus a path. And so if we can do sidewalks, get rid of the bump outs, there should be adequate room for bike lanes on both sides and adequate travel lane width, both directions. The speed tables, they'll be looking at that to control the speed. Our police chief likes to call that the side of the cop, and we're looking at two locations for that. So, if there's something else that you think the engineer should look at, please let me know. We'll run past it.
Yeah, it was actually just, it was more in relation to how much room we have in terms of those right-of-ways, because it seems to me the less ins and outs we can, do and still solve the problems that we have down there. I think the better in terms of plowing and in terms of everything else. If we could,
Right.
if we can avoid that, it obviously would make sense to try to do that. It seems to me.
Anyone else? Okay, next item G, consideration of resolution 19-4-2347, amending the 2019 capital budget to complete temporary limited easement acquisition services for Atwood Avenue reconstruction, also Public Works.
Okay, thank you. This is a capital budget amendment request for the 2019 capital budget, seeking to add $16,700 to the budget. Our 2018 capital budget set aside $70,000 for the design. The bill from Madison for design is $68,800, so there's not enough balance there to complete this work. Temporary limited easement is something that is not a permanent easement. We're not buying land. We're basically paying two locations to basically disrupt their property to complete the construction. When the project is done, everything is returned back to normal, and we're out of the way. So it's a temporary use of the private property immediately behind the right-of-way line. There are two properties that are identified that need TLE, the temporary limited easement, and I believe it's the Businessmen's Association and the Monona Apartment Investors LLC. So basically what this does, one city council and the Public Works Committee, if they approve this capital budget amendment, that $16,700 will be allocated to have MSA, who is the City of Madison's engineer, complete this work for us and offer up TLE to those two parcel owners. So it's on these larger projects, TLE is a standard project.
Alder Groupie, did you have a question?
So
Was it just not, you just weren't aware of what the figure would be at the time of the original budget proposal, and now you have the figure and we need to amend it? Or was this something that was unforeseen in the original engineering
Well,
process?
when we prepared our capital budget, they were not this far along. There's been a lot of back and forth with this project in particular with regards to the funding. Are they going to proceed? Is it going to hold? And that's still being debated. The TLE was not identified at the time when we put our capital budget together. So had we known that, we would have set aside the money in the capital budget. As far as construction, still not sure when that's going to happen. Hopefully on the budget line. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Alder Kitzler.
So this might be just contract standard language, and I'm just nitpicking here, but it says when a negotiated settlement is reached, a payment request will be provided to the city. So do we already know what that amount agreement is by those two property parcels, or would you potentially be coming back because somebody said, no, I want 20,000 instead of 8,000 or something?
With TLEs, they typically know where these settle at. As far as Monona Drive, we purchased an awful lot of right-of-way, and the figure that you named, that was around the ballpark of what we paid for permanent right-of-way. TLE, it has, the two parcels at approximately 2,500. That is based on their experience, and I would like to say industry standard for TLE. I think they feel pretty confident they can.
Alder Court.
So on the bottom of the fiscal note, it talks about where we're pulling that 16.7 from. It looks like we're pulling it from the HVAC from the library. Although one of the other alders had concerns about whether we need the balance of that 174,000 for future projects. So are there options for us? I guess this is maybe a larger question for maybe Brian as well, to pull that 16.7 from somewhere else, or if we end up needing that full 174 for the HVAC down the road, is that going to put us in a bind?
Potentially, but I mean, we could look and see what our undesignated general fund balance is. Again, you don't want to keep going to that well too often if you can avoid it. That's one possibility. We can check with the finance director on that if we think we need to hold the HVAC account kind of free and clear for the moment.
And this was reviewed with Mark as well. With all the bids that came in, and we're looking at, the bottom dollar lines, if you will. The HVAC bid was fresh in our minds, and obviously there's a big balance there, and that was, I checked with Brad, checked with Mark, talked with Brian, and it seemed the logical choice to take it from.
I think we probably will be looking at additional HVAC, but it will be in the next year's capital budget,
Right.
or maybe even the one the year after.
Right. Just because
Depends on what we
it
find
takes
this
time
year.
to put that manual together, so I
Yeah.
can see that probably proceeding in 2020.
But good for us to know to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right. I think that's it for you, Dan. Thank you very much. Final item H, consideration of resolution 19-4-2348, approval of an affidavit of correction to the certified survey map number 14728 to rename Metropolitan Lane, put forth by the city administrator.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a memo in your packet that kind of outlines the process. As you know, with the redevelopment of the lakefront or the riverfront property and the relocation of Metropolitan Lane, we will look to rename the new roadway once it's completed. The process by which we have to do that, because we established the site layout with the certified survey map, we have to make a correction to that CSM. So I have in the packet what's called an affidavit of correction, which is the formal instrument that we do to make that name change. This would require 2 reads by the City Council, and Public Works Committee will also get an opportunity to weigh in on it. They're scheduled to review it at their meeting this week. And after that, they'll make a recommendation and it'll come back to the council on the 15th for your final authorization.
Questions? The group B, then Alder Moore.
Did
Did you have one?
It's okay. So you can go first. Go for it.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not necessarily opposed to this, but I think we have some very special upcoming opportunities with the riverfront development to really honor Ho-Chunk names and recognition as part of that project. So I think we should just keep that in mind as we move forward.
Okay. Alder Moore?
I'm just wondering if this name changes has been discussed or brought up in any way with the remaining residents on this lane, which is to say the restaurant and the yacht club.
I think they're aware that we were going to be changing it.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure that they're aware of what we're going to change it to.
Okay.
But they know that Metropolitan Lane is going to be, obviously.
Something we've always intended to do.
Okay. Great.
Metropolitan Lane, the Chase Bank used to be the Metropolitan Bank years ago,
Okay.
when it was first built in the 60s, I think. And so that's where the name came from. And the Inland Boat Company is kind of this iconic
Sure.
business
Sure.
that was located right there. And we wanted to have something that had sort of a water connection, because that's what we're trying to do for the whole development. And it's also meaningful too. That was there. I mean, we purchased them on Boat Company in order to build this. So
Right.
And also to have it separately named from the development itself. So it's not.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not questioning the name at all. I just didn't know how much, and from a branding standpoint, if it would cause any undue, really extreme hardship on the people that are there in terms of, they might have towels with their address on them or something. I don't know. I
Sure.
just so that's why I just wanted to make sure that they were aware.
Yeah, that's fair.
That we would change anything because of it.
Yeah, but that's fair. And we can do that, reach out again.
Yeah.
Andrew.
I see, I know we're not passing a resolution on this, but the Yahara Lane, how is that named, or how is that?
When we checked the CS, we thought that was another item that had to be corrected as well. But when we checked the original CSM that was approved in 2017 and then a revision in 2018, Yahara Lane was already listed on that CSM. So
Oh, okay.
I think when we've been talking about that when we did it, and it must have just gotten put in there
Gotcha.
at the time. Anyone else? Okay, I think that's it. Reports of committees, commissions, et cetera. Alder Groupie.
I just want to congratulate our new police officer, Andrew Hoffman, on being sworn in this morning. Congratulations.
Alder Moore.
Nothing to report. I just would encourage everybody to get out and vote tomorrow.
Yeah. Alder Kitzler.
Go vote.
Alder Kur.
I'd be remiss in not saying go vote, but also I wanted to remind everyone that the volunteer appreciation is April 11th. And so if you serve on a committee, please join us.
And I hope as many of the councilors can make it are there as well. Leah, did you have any news?
No report.
Dan, did you have anything to report? You've reported enough. Administrator Gatto.
yeah, just got a couple of things. One, the clerk asked me just to give a report since she couldn't be here tonight because she's preparing for tomorrow's election. First, just for the general public, so that they know, the Badger books will not be used for the April 2nd election, spring election, which is tomorrow. The reason for that is there was a slight program error discovered during training on the state level that couldn't be fixed from Wisconsin Elections Commission in time for the election that's tomorrow. So the system will be relaunched next spring. Voting will take place as it always has, using the paper poll books as usual. So we appreciate everyone's understanding with kind of the back and forth on this, and we hope to have, in consultation with all of our partners around the state, have the system ready to go for our next cycle of elections next year. There were four, just an update on the extended voting hours that we had for this election. There was 4 in-person absentee voters at the last evening of 8 additional hours provided on Wednesday evenings, March 20th and 27th, and then also Saturday morning, March 23rd. So we only had 4 additional people that came to utilize those hours. All said that they'd heard about the additional hours from the city's news website flash notices that we send out. And then lastly, it's quite fitting that tomorrow marks the city clerk's 18th year with the city of Monona in the clerk's office. So just wanted to congratulate her and wish her the best of luck tomorrow with that. And then just a couple of other news and notes. So tonight's meeting was very expedient and brief, and that's great. But I fear that the next meeting on April 15th will have a little bit lengthier agenda. So I just wanted to give you a brief preview of some of the things that are coming down the pike for April 15th. We do have Maggie Baum from Maggie B Productions scheduled to give a presentation to the City Council on the communications study. I'm bucketing about 30 minutes for her, about 15 minutes for the presentation, and about 15 minutes for questions and comments from the council. If we need additional time kind of beyond that 30-minute window, we can schedule more time with her if need be. And by Friday, I will email out the council a copy of that final report, so you have it a couple days in advance of the meeting on the 15th. We will likely also have a first reading and discussion on the special events policy and also the kind of corollary street use permit and policy that go along with that. That's coming from the Parks Committee and also the Police Department. We may also be discussing the Parks Encroachment Ordinance if that's ready to go on the 15th. And then likely a first reading and discussion on an FMLA policy for paid parental leave that we discussed at Personnel and Finance Committee tonight, that we will bring that discussion back up for April 15th. And there's a couple of other items that will be on the docket as well for the 15th. So just so you know that that's coming down the pike. And then looking ahead a little bit further, it's likely early May or thereabouts, we will have, the CDA will have finished their review of the Renew Monona program, and we will bring that to the City Council for your review and discussion, likely the first meeting in May, with the second reading probably the second meeting of May, or might get shifted a meeting or so. But just so you know that that's has been in process for the last couple of months, and we'll be providing you with a recommendation on that as well. So, and then lastly, I sent this out in my email to the council last week, but if you are interested in attending the Clean Lakes Alliance Save Our Lakes Community Breakfast on May 8th, please let me know, hopefully by first thing tomorrow, so I can send in our registration to them. I've heard from 3 council members already, so if anybody else hasn't got back to me and is able to attend and wants to attend, just let me know.
All right. One thing about future agendas as well, I talked with County Supervisor Buckingham was here tonight for the meet and greet, and asked her about the possibility of scheduling her to come in and give us an update on the lake levels committee meetings. They should have their recommendations by then. I think they should have approved them, so I think it'd be good for us to hear what they're deciding. We've all heard bits and pieces of that, but so she's willing to do that, so we'll schedule that once we get a little better idea of what future weeks will bring. So in terms of my news, I guess I would like to have committee, no matter what happens tomorrow, your committee requests by a week from today, which is April 8th. For those of you who are continuing, if you would please send those to me. Again, the April 11th Volunteer Appreciation, we're really trying to get more people to come this year. We just didn't have a very great turnout last year, and we will be honoring our retiring council member, among other people. So so please come. And again, urge everybody to get out and vote tomorrow. So is there anything else? No? Then is there a motion to, there are no appointments, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Leah's really lucky this